Good afternoon, all our viewers, and as well as to our speakers. I'm Mudit Goyal, CA by education and a tech enthusiast by my profession. I welcome you all to today's event by Entera, an AI based accounting system. And today's event is about how how technology has taken over our accounting practice and what we can do to ensure that our space is secure with respect to cybersecurity. Now we have chosen this topic because it has become imperative to implement technology to as this has already disrupted our domain. And cybersecurity is important because the load of data that we are generating today is unparalleled, and it is being generated at different levels. Now a lot of this data lies with the lower level staff and different levels of hierarchy in our organization, and to secure this is the responsibility of us professionals. Our clients hold a lot of trust with us. They share a lot of financial data with us, which is vulnerable to be breached by any of these fraudsters who are very active and live these days. So we have three guests with us who will discuss in detail what how you can implement this technology in your firm, how you can prepare for the cybersecurity with respect to the companies they have been dealing with across the world, and also one of the senior lawyers who will tell us how the laws have changed in the country with respect to cybersecurity and what you can do to secure yourself. Firstly, we'll introduce Mr. Akhil Bansal, who is a chartered accountant and a long term transaction lawyer who has worked with a lot of startups across the world and has implemented funding transactions. So, he has very deeply studied how startups are doing around the cybersecurity and automation, and he himself has implemented this technology in the company, and we will learn from him how he has benefited from it. Secondly, we will have Mahir Gupta, who is an advocate at Delhi High Court. He fights for Government of India with them, against them, and helps get justice for the corporates who have actually faced this kind of fraud. What did they do after the fraud happened? How did they secure their data? How did they secure the people with whose data was leaked or it was vulnerable? Thirdly, we have Mr. Hemant Kumar, who is CEO of npass.io, a platform which has developed a password manager not just in conventional sense but for corporates. They have implemented it in Fortune 500 companies. They have worked with security officers of these companies, and they have worked with a lot of these organizations. And he understands how these people look at security. So when we deal with clients that have this kind of scale, we are usually scared about data, that how can we secure their data. So it will be interesting to learn from him about this kind of security concerns and how it is being addressed across the world. Lastly, I'll share my views about how technical implementations and implementation in finance department is difficult, why it is difficult, and how we can make this process simpler in a broken down format. I will also explain how Entera works as a AI tool in accounting system. I guess all of us will be very much curious when we hear this, that it is an AI based accounting system. So let's get started with Mr. Akhil Bansal.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, yes, Akhil, you are audible.
Yeah. So let me give a quick background and the intro. While Mudit have shared in terms of what we do. So just to kind of set the context so that whatever I say then can kind of relate back in terms of how it makes sense to this entire presentation. We do a lot of work for private equity and venture capital funds. So prior to that, I've been doing this for over 13 years. Prior to this, I was with PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ernst and Young in the mergers and acquisitions and tax and regulatory division. So over 13 years, I've been running a transaction firm based out of Delhi with office in Bangalore. And primarily we are doing a lot of transactions related to investments, M&A, corporate restructurings. A lot of times these startups have to move their headquarters outside of India, be it Singapore, US, because investors are more comfortable putting in funds in holding structures set up outside of India. So we kind of do a solution based approach end to end, and we have also been working on some of the strategic areas with various startups across India and outside. And then we do a lot of work for with our partner firms in US, Singapore, and Dubai. Plus, we also help set up corporates in multiple countries. So almost like 15 plus countries, wherein we have been working with multiple consulting partners. So this is all what we do. And in the context of this presentation, what I will can tell you that the ecosystem, the entire practice domain have been evolving over a period of time, and we are seeing a lot of changes happening. So on a broader front, what I could see that the complexity in the work is kind of increasing by the day, because you have multiple challenges on the regulatory side, on the documentation side, which we need to face. Then the volumes are kind of increasing in each of the clients. So every client is having multiple complexities in terms of the kind of work that's required to be undertaken. And because even if it's a smaller client or if it's a bigger client, irrespective of that, there are multiple things that are required to be undertaken. Then collaboration is the key. So you have multiple team members, both inside the firm and outside on at the client side, and maybe then there could be third parties who have to work collaboratively on multiple projects, so that it's being the entire work gets streamlined. And lastly, speed is the key, because if you are not able to kind of pull this in a specific or a tight timeline, that's where this entire problem gets arise, wherein you are not able to conclude this entire transaction in very quickly and speedily. So the way I kind of look at is that without technology, without automations, without using AI, you will not be able to kind of solve all these challenges in one go. And um, because of this aspect, which we could kind of foresee over a period of time, we also kind of started implementing multiple technology solutions within the firm, and that has helped us not only bring speed and efficiency in the process, but also, let's say, ensure that whatever work idly which could have been done, let's say, by 200 people organization or 300 people organization, we are doing it with a 75 people organization. So this is how I kind of sum up. Yeah.
So, Akhil, as I understand, like you are running a firm which is dealing in different countries. So, and a lot of departments and a lot of documents and a lot of people have to be handled in the process. So, like we would like to know that what kind of tools have you explored and used? So, covering both is important because you might have rejected some. So, knowing what not to do is also very important in technology. So we would like to know both of the things, and with respect to the tools that you have used and how they have brought about efficiency in your departments, and has it actually helped you cut down people, or has it actually helped you increase the efficiency? So there are two aspects: whether it brings down your cost or it helps you increase the revenue and accuracy and data points and helps you upsell. So like we would like to know the products.
Yeah. So I think before kind of coming on what kind of tools which we have used and how we have implemented, before that I want to just kind of mention one fact that right now we are at a point in time where the technology is very critical in terms of what we are doing. And it's not even, let's say, us, but any company has to kind of take leverage of the technology per se. And we understood it very clearly ahead of time, because we were working in the startup domain. And when we were able to meet multiple founders, and over the last 13 years we have met thousands of founders doing interesting work, we realized very quickly that technology is something which we can't kind of go away with. And irrespective of whatever work we are doing, we have to implement that in our daily life. Now, in terms of efficiency, you're right. While our approach has never been to kind of, let's say, use technology and move people out, but always kind of bring in efficiency and get in more and more work. And because the firm has been doing over a period of 13 years, in fact, we were the ones who were trying to restrict the work coming in, only because of the fact we don't want to kind of make it a 300, 500 people organization and kind of let's say saddle the organization with multiple people coming in. We kind of want to make it a smaller, leaner organization so we can kind of work on a stealth mode. That's where for us efficiency increased, and that's where we were able to kind of generate more and more work. Now, in terms of the usage of the technology tools which we have been kind of doing, and without taking too much time in terms of how each tool benefited, but I could kind of give you a broader perspective that there are some tools which were like on the cloud side. Let's say we were using so we understood very quickly that collaboration is the key. Now using Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word means that we have to effectively have multiple versions of same document sitting on everyone's desktop. Then why not kind of start using collaborative tools like Google Workspace or Google Docs or Google Sheets, so that every one of us can start working on the same document and not kind of use different versions. So that help kind of speed up and bring efficiency. Now even if it's not the time, but it's the efficiency which gets critical, because if someone is working on a version 1 and he forgets to kind of use version 1 and give it to someone and instead give version 1 minus, then the other person is going to work on the very different version which is required. And in our kind of practice, which is transaction driven, using wrong documentation can kind of screw this entire transaction. So what we are saying this in this entire process is that one I could kind of bucket is the cloud. So let's say we're using Google Workspace for our email communications, for our documents collaboration, for our Google Sheets collaboration. Then we're using Dropbox, wherein all the documents sitting on one place and each of the team members can access, and we have appropriate controls to see that who is accessing what, and we could also kind of restrict administration rights in terms of accessing. Plus we also leveraging cloud security of Google and Dropbox of the world. But the real play which came in was because when the organization becomes large, and you have multiple people and you have multiple projects and you have multiple to dos that are required to be undertaken, and some of these to dos might kind of emerge on a periodic basis, then how to kind of keep tab and track of who is working on what. And that's where one of so one of my friend kind of introduced me with a tool which we could kind of leverage, and the name was Basecamp. So Basecamp basically it's like a similar tool like a ClickUp or someone similar which others might be using. But the idea was that with Basecamp we were able to kind of track each one's work. Everyone can assign a work to another, and the other work can kind of do it, and everything is happening on cloud, which means that you can access the entire software at one place. So instead of we coming up with our own application and getting it custom developed, we get to hold of a application which is already there in the market. And the way I could kind of see this, our productivity and efficiency shot up by 50% straight when the team members started using the tool. While there was initial resistance in terms of using it, but slowly and gradually when people started using it, we were able to kind of improve the efficiency in the entire process. Then, other than this, while not burdening the audience with all the tools which we are using, and there could be a bunch of, let's say, 10, 15 tools. So one of the tool is basically which is, let's say, substituting paralegals. So which is, let's say, the tool itself is doing the entire proofreading, formatting, and finding if there are inconsistencies in the document. There is another tool which is doing an intellectual property rights tracking, that if someone is kind of, let's say, filing a registration which is very similar to your client's registration. Now even if I kind of get two or three people to sit on and find if there is anything which is similar being filed by someone which is relatable to our client, they will still be inefficiency in the process. So why not we kind of leverage the tools which are already there in the market? So whether it's a jot form, whether it's a Basecamp, or whether it's even Zoho and other tools which we use on the compliance side of things. So I'm seeing the productivity increasing, the efficiency increasing, and the cost reducing. And with the same set of team, we are able to kind of generate more work and get more work done with far more efficient way than what we were doing earlier.
So, like, how long did it take for the any particular tool you can say, or the kind of efficiency you have achieved? What was the timeline for this? And for any tool like you introduced to the team, how long does it take for the team to actually be proficient with it?
So I think the way I am kind of implementing this entire thing is that first I am the one who is reviewing what the tool does, try to kind of see if I could kind of use it. For me, convenience is very critical from our adoption standpoint. Then I create a crack team of maybe like 3 to 4 people with whom I kind of run a pilot within my team, within those 3 4 people. And after that, once I realized that after running it for 15 days to 30 days, if I think that this makes sense, then we do a team wise, the entire firm wise implementation. Now, from a firm wise implementation, it all depends on the type of the tool. So sometimes the implementation takes 1 month, or it could even take 3 months. And when I say implementation, it's basically the adoption part. So adoption is the key. So even if, let's say, you implement and the team is not using it, then there is no point. So let's say, giving you an example, when we implemented Basecamp, I said that all work related communication to happen on the Basecamp itself, because it also provides a chat functionality. But team were still using WhatsApp because they were kind of more accustomed to that. So it took me some time to kind of push them on using the Basecamp part. But once they start implementing, they themselves find that there is enough merit in using that. It also kind of saves all that chats running in their own personal WhatsApp space. And but it's a method which is, let's say, me reviewing the tool first, then creating a small team to test pilot, and then implementing firm wide, and then ensuring that the implementation happens by kind of pushing it across the team. And for that, I kind of just keep one person to make sure that the implementation is happening. And even if that one person is not there, I myself make sure that on a periodic levels I could do checks. But it's so far, we have been able to kind of create a playbook in terms of how the tool gets introduced in the firm itself. So someone has to be the person who kind of gets sees the market and gets the tool in place. There could be some bit of resistance, but you have to kind of deal with that.
Yeah, like I have been dealing in implementing this tool at financial level, financial teams, and I
Mm.
totally agree that it has to be driven by management. If management is not driving it, setting KPIs of what needs to be done, and how I'm going to assess whether this tool is being used or not. So if it is not in place, then ultimately the tech implementation fails. So like for all the firms out there, it's like uh, it has to be management driven, and you have to be a part of the implementation for a specific period, and someone whose KPIs depend on that function needs to check and regularly update whether the tool is being used or not. So, Akhil, next, would my question would be that this is you have talked about how you are managing the team internally in terms of document management. You have centralized it. You have brought communications to a specific channel where duplication doesn't happen. But how about when you interact with the outside world? How about when you are interacting with your customers, clients, onboarding them, and how about improving their experience? Have you been able to implement some products over there? Because it is also a very time consuming task and a very burdensome task for a professional firm to interact with their clients.
Yeah, you're right. When we have been doing that internally in terms of adoption, it's far more easier as compared to when we do with an outside world like our clients. So we may not be successful in implementing for any tool across all the clients, but we have been partially successful in terms of, let's say, implementing specific tools for specific clients. So let's say there is a cap table management tool wherein the shareholding pattern could be kind of managed. So if we kind of are able to sell the proposition to the client that it's far more easier for them to manage this on the tool itself, wherein we also kind of pitch in instead of doing it on Excel. And if the client finds merit in that, then we kind of go for the implementation. But in other pieces of work, let's say we implemented a form which is, let's say, very high or an advanced version of a Google Forms, which is a jot form. So we kind of implemented that, wherein we were able to secure information from the clients, instead of, let's say, they clogging our email servers of all our employees. We kind of got that information collected through a form mechanism, which was very dynamic and intelligent forms, which we implemented. So that was one area which I found that when we started implementing across clients in terms of getting the information in place, that we were able to kind of successfully do it. But you're right, it's very difficult to kind of get the outside world also to start becoming part of your tool ecosystem. So even on Basecamp, when I asked few of our clients to kind of become part of the internal tool itself, I didn't find people kind of too keen to join that. But That's where I think the technology needs to move, wherein internal and external needs to kind of get passed somewhere. So let's say if the client is using X tool and I'm using a Y tool, maybe through an API or something, there needs to be a connection that needs to be established between these two set of people.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. Like you mentioned that some of the clients didn't even were not able to go on board with the your propositions, and some were able to. So, were you able to find like a revenue boost or a positive vibe from those clients that okay, like we are at a better place than other than being at a normal firm which only
No,
does
no,
the transactions for us,
right,
with
right, right.
as compared to a company who is providing us a better environment.
So you're right. Client satisfaction increases. Client stickiness also increases because it continues to retain with you. Even though the revenue doesn't boost, but it brings efficiency and cost reduction in the process. So let's say if I have asked my team to spend 20 hours, maybe through a use of tools, his time spent is maybe 5 hours. So you have one immediate reduction in the time required in that particular project, and that translates into increased margins in the entire uh, project itself.
Okay. And how do you see the cost factor? Like you mentioned some 4 to 5 tools that you have implemented. Like, do you feel the cost factor either at the beginning or during the implementation or now when you are stable, that this is a very big variable factor for you as a professional to implement this, and it becomes a concern for you at some point that we are spending so much on tools, or you find that ROI is justifiable?
I think I see it from a ROI perspective. If the tool is able to kind of save time or increase customer retention, and I could kind of see that very clearly, then absolute cost of the tool doesn't matter. It's only the relative cost in terms of the effort which it kind of subsidize versus the cost which I have to incur. And most of the tools I think on the product side are like very low cost, and we have seen that. Some of the tools even let's say geographically it's far more cheaper to us sometimes as compared to let's say for a different geography. So that could also be one more way to see it this entire thing.
And having worked with, I like during the conversation, you said two products which I think were AI based, which is a product for paralegals, which is automatically reading your documents and summarizing it, and the one which is going for similar product filings with respect to patents for your clients. Now, with when you work with these are AI based, I'm guessing, and do you feel that AI is doing a good job and the efficiency and the accuracy specifically of the tools is good enough for to implement and begin with?
I think without commenting on specific tools, what I can say is that from an AI perspective, it's basically like for AI, if we see from our 15-20 years time frame, it's just a beginning. So over a period of time, and that period of time is like not big. So over next 6 to 12 months, I could visibly see that, or I could clearly see that there are going to be, let's say, a whole lot of rush of AI tools which are going to be coming in the market, and they are going to solve most of the work that's being done by the current workforce. So the skill sets might need to kind of change or improve, and tomorrow we may also need to have, let's say, a more or a different complex type of work that's required to be done. But what one thing AI cannot kind of replace is the strategic thinking in terms of how to kind of, let's say, structure and see. While it can certainly implement, but at the end of the day, human knowledge will remain. But all the processes down below will start getting replaced.
And like merging two of my questions, do you have any person in the company who is doing the role of finding the tools and specifically working on technology? And have you ever implemented a like you have obviously used the tools, but have you ever tried to build or construct some of the APIs on your own using no code platforms within your firm? Like I don't know if you have heard of that.
So I kind of tried a bit. The only thing is that the no-code platforms are kind of doing an excellent job. We implemented for a couple of things. Also took some outside help for that, and I could kind of say that these no-code solutions are able to kind of let's say, implement few things which otherwise, if we would have gone for a traditional software building method, would have taken much more time. So I agree with you that these low code tools, so the ones I use are like Zapier and Pabbly, but these are like great tools. Only thing is that these are like, let's say, utensils in the kitchen, so you need to kind of know that how to kind of use them effectively. But once you start implementing that effectively, then the game changes. But uh, basically, now if you see it from my perspective, I think the tomorrow skills of the new world order would be, let's say, someone who knows how to implement these tools and could be part of your automation cycle and can work with you in implementing this. Now, whether that could be a full-time job or whether that could be a part-time job entirely depends on the size and complexity of the organization. But this is something with that one position which will be required by every firm, which is, let's say, a process automation expert, or someone who is helping you bring in new technologies and new work processes in the firm.
How, I have just one more question after my current question, that how do you see legal firms working in the future? Like, is there a possibility that Alexa is answering your transaction legal questions, or it will be human driven but assisted?
I think you need to see it from two perspective, B2B or a B2C space. B2C space could still kind of go that way, which you are saying, that Alexa kind of answering your questions, because the risk is low. But in a B2B space, a human element will still be there, because there could be larger amount of dollars that are that 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 may get impacted because of the decision making process. Uh, there will be an human interface always in between. But at the end of the day, these human interface can also leverage those AI solutions for finding answers to the questions which might be required to be answered for the client.
Okay. Lastly, do you have any advice for our viewers who are running CA firms and legal firms, like how they can uh, break the ice with their resistance on working with this tool, or hesitance, or how who have not implemented anything like this?
It's a mindset process. Whether I need to spend an X dollar on a particular tool or not should be driven not by the absolute cost of the tool, but by the ROI, which I will be able to get from the tool itself. Once I take a decision that I'm getting ROI in this, I can then straight go for an adoption, and then make a process how the team will start adopting. And I can tell you from my experience, if you start adopting these tools, the ROI is going to be significant. Not only it can bring, let's say, additional revenues, because more and more customers want to associate with firms who are using such kind of tools, but also bring in efficiency in the cost reduction process in this entire scheme of things.
Thanks. I guess that's all. All our viewers who have any question can post us, and we'll answer those at the end of when all our speakers are done. We have reserved last 15-20 minutes for that. And next on, I guess we can bring on Mr. Hemant, who is CEO of Enpast Technologies. Uh, and he has done tremendous work in developing a password manager, which has been accepted worldwide and being implemented in Fortune 500 companies. So we'll welcome Mr. Hemant.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me, Mudit?
Yes, yes, Hemant,
Yes.
you are audible.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Welcome, Hemant, to this webinar. How are you? Hemant, you are not audible. You are not audible. No, 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 not yet. No, not yet, Hemant. No, no, Hemant, you're not audible. Maybe your earphones are still connected. You can just disconnect them. Olga, can you just intervene and see if anything can be done? Hemant, you can just try logging off and logging on once. No, no, not audible. Hemant, I guess you need to turn off the Bluetooth on your laptop. That will. You're not audible. I'm just. Yeah. He'll just rejoin. No worries. I guess technology sometimes ditches you. Yeah, he's back.
Is it fine now? Hello?
Yeah, yeah, Hemant, you're
Oh,
back.
sorry. So sorry for that. I don't know like what happened in the
No
mid.
worries. Technology. This is. I was. This was just. I was saying that technology sometimes ditches you.
Yeah. So suddenly it stopped working. I said hi and I heard you well. Sorry for that.
No
Yeah,
worries.
so basically to start with, like my name is Hemant and I am CEO co-founder at NPass. So I am in cybersecurity, especially into the password credentials management and the securing from last 10 years. And we initially started the business with the B2C and later moved to B2B, now working with many small to large enterprises of size, even from 10 to 100,000s like Fortune 10. And thanks again for inviting me.
So Hemant, I guess you can start by telling us that why did you develop a password manager, and what was the need with respect what was its need with respect to cybersecurity, and why there was a need to develop it when the giants like Google and Microsoft are also doing the same job. So you can just explain that how does this particular feature hold importance with respect to cybersecurity.
So basically, the first thing we say is like how the data security, how much the data security is important for the organizations. So organizations have a lot of data for the employees and lot of data of their clients, and they do not have some best security practices, especially for managing the passwords. So password management is something like having uh, despite having some solutions, they are not being used, and some of the solution, as you said, the Google password manager and the other password managers, they are not acceptable in the business environments. Like large organizations, they cannot allow the use of the Google password managers where the employees will be storing the business information on their personal Google clouds. So this was something that needed a requirement for a business class password manager where the employees will be able to govern the admins are able to govern the password management based on some kind of policy for sharing the passwords. And so these are the things which are not available for the Google password manager. They are good for the B2C perspective, but for the B2B you need a lot of other things that need to be in an enterprise grade password manager. And the requirement for password manager were the security risks that we were seeing every day, like the companies being hacked. And the reason was like the employees using the weak passwords like password 1234 or their pet name or their office address, company name. And we see the stories like these happening every other day, whether the large organization, government organizations, they are being hacked. Millions of users of data is being like leaked every day. And the reason sometimes fall back to the weakness of the first line of defense. They are always the passwords. We have seen multiple things like in the past for that, and that required a password manager.
So, what can you say about the like best practices around your managing the passwords in a particular firm? Because as I understand, the CA firms have a lot of passwords. For each client, they can have 4 to 5 passwords that are with them, and they are distributed among their clients. Oh, sorry, distributed among their employees, and each one is has the ability even to reset them. And what has been your experience with respect to CA firms if you have worked with one?
So yeah, if you say the CA firms, so CA firms typically have very sensitive data, and that data belongs to their client. So the data could be, you see, like the data they access is like their balance sheets, their profit and loss statements, and the various tax portals they have to log in. And even some of the CA firms have banking credentials of their client, where they make payments on their behalf, or the banks have done such kind of things. So in these companies, we have seen that due to the lack of talent in the cybersecurity, they do not have a big infrastructure to invest in, that they do not have enough resources for the cybersecurity. So there is ignorance about the best cybersecurity practices in the CA firms. And most of the firms, like, they are happy with the default settings that they get, so they believe that they have a strong fort around them. And where it again falls back to that thing, like they have a weak passwords working on there. So we have seen like the CA firms are having a very weak and like a patterned password. So their passwords looks like the PAN number at the rate 1234, things like that, and the employees are writing them in the Excel files. Sometimes they make the local copy of them, sometimes they share the Excel files. And there have been a problem, like when the new joinee comes in the organization and they need the passwords, and then you are again giving the those files which are very sensitive with the passwords and all data of the clients to the users, right, to the new employees, right? There are no access restrictions on that. And there are always the problems when you have to do the password change, right, when you have to change passwords on the website. So password manager typically solves all these problems. So the first and foremost thing, as we say, the password manager means like it will put all your things together in one secure place, governed with certain set of policies. And then when the things are secured at one place, they are always easy to manage. So that's the first thing. Second thing, as I said, that the organization lacks some kind of tools that they can provide to the employees. Though every organization management wants that the employees use strong password, but the employees don't have any kind of tools to do those kind of stuff. So password manager is a tool that should be certainly deployed for the employees, and where the employees whenever have to, they can keep all their passwords in one at one place, and whenever they have to log in, it will automatically log in them. And when they have to change the password manager will change those passwords automatically, and it will save them from the risk of like the password reuse. Because when they have to change the password, they again keep the same password, instead of at the rate they write hash and things like that. So they are typically guessable, right? And just imagine if someone takes your Excel file, with some employee leaves the organization and they takes the passwords with them, so how much damage it can give to you. So there could be reputation loss, and the loss to the client. And there are many laws in the world we have seen, like the GDPR, data protection law, where as per the law you have to manage all the things securely and all. So a password manager helps you there as well, like. And it also there are many other risks in the organization, like the employees are not well trained. They even don't know the basic email etiquettes. They are not able to discern between a good email and a bad email. And the emails are something they are dealing every day. Emails are filled with various attachments. Some of them could be malicious links that take you to a website which looks like an income tax portal, and employee then end up giving their true credentials over there. So you can now like think of the risk, right? So the risk assessment is something like we need to see the malpractices going on and what kind of risks it can bring to the organization. So yeah, that's the thing. And where a password manager can also save you from such kind of risks, because when the employees are in a habit of using a password manager, they never have to think of passwords, for generating, for filling those passwords on website or on their mobile devices, because the password manager will check the genuinity of the website from the URL, and then it will do the thing.
So, if all the passwords are stored in a password manager and the password manager is automatically generating all those passwords, is there a risk that the entire store of passwords is stolen at once? That how a firm is able to trust on a single source that okay, everything is stored at once and the fraudster cannot just attack that particular source?
But that's a very good question. Like today, we are living in the world of cloud where everyone just want to switch to cloud, like everything in the cloud of the vendor. So we call it a proprietary cloud, right? So when we think a password manager in terms of like that, we can feel the chill in the bones of a management to decide like how can we hand over our passwords to a vendor, like, and what will happen if the vendor is breached, right? So these are the risks I can well understand, but there are passwords manager in the market where that allow you to control the storage location, and our password manager npass is like that as well, like where you can define your own storage location. If the organizations are using Google Workspace or the Microsoft 365, these kind of tools, so they can keep their password vaults on those clouds without sending that data to the vendor, so that the vendor's proprietary cloud doesn't become a gold mine for the hackers, right? I got your point well. And with npass, like, and there are other password managers like which work totally offline, but npass gives you a flexibility of keeping your data in your own cloud, and that typically solves this problem because the data is now not aggregated, and it is difficult for the hackers to break into the Google account or the Microsoft 365 account of individual npass users and get the data from there. There are multiple barriers. Google security is there, and then there is a master password. So these are the things that protects you. So basically it's a design of the architecture, like how it is designed, and we understood this problem long back, and we took the approach of decentralizing the password management storage, and that's how this.
Okay. So, this is about the problems and like how CA firms are operating. We know that most of us are storing passwords in Excel sheets, which makes it vulnerable and people change it. So, I get that using a password manager, you can use the same password without with a hash code, and so that nobody is able to see the password but is able to use them. It prevents theft. And what has been your experience with larger organizations? How are they dealing with the problem of basically data sharing or password sharing? And what are the protocols that you have experienced with larger organizations? So, so that we can learn from the kind of protocols and policies they have implemented.
So when we say large organization, it means that the organizations of the employee size of thousands to the hundred thousands. And when there are too many employees there, so one thing that protects them is the strong processes, right? So they build the strong process from the beginning, and they also have some standardizations. They take the certifications like ISO certifications and the GDPR. They follow the GDPR. So these kind of things are there which standardize their process, and to make sure that the employees are always protected, because in any organization, whether large or whether small, the weakest point is the employees. So if the employees are not trained well, right, they will always fall victim to the attacks of the hackers, like the social engineering or the things like that. So large organization invest heavily, they know this thing well, and they try to standardize with the process. So there are many certifications they go for, like ISO certifications, and where they make sure that their whole infrastructure is very secure and the employees are following the best practices. And certain industries like banking industries, they follow very strict rules, and there are the regular audits where they make sure that every employee is handling the data of their clients and the internal data very well as per the defined.
Okay, and what is the real implication of a data loss? So I understand that we are talking about passwords because these are the lock and key of all the data that is there in the organization. each and every app that we use today and each and every file that we open has some kind of passwords on it. And we are talking about the safety of those passwords. It's like Godrej of the new Godrej of the world, who are protecting your virtual safes. So, like, what is the real threat with respect to Indian laws? That if I am maintaining supposedly 100 companies and I have income tax and GST passwords of all those firms, what is the real threat with respect to laws that are there in the world in India today?
So first thing is like, as I said, like it's your, for any firm, like when they are dealing with the client's data, it's their responsibility to securely protect their client's data. If their client's data is lost somewhere, right, due to the malpractices followed by the organization itself, then they are in the soup, right? The first problem is like they will lose the business. They will also reveal the credentials of the employees of the client out there. So there are many practices they need to follow here. So first thing is like, if I say, they need to identify like what are the practices that an organization can implement to safeguard all these risks. So the first thing is like they should invest on training of the employees, right? So they should invest well. The employees should be well aware of the basic etiquettes while handling with the emails, what kind of attachments are coming in, and what kind of, how to handle the data, how to secure the data, and how the data sharing should work. And then they should use, as I said, like they should have a password manager, so that there is no cognitive load on the employees to deal with all the passwords and then to share with the passwords. So 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 the thing is, if these practices are not well followed and something, the important data is lost outside, then there are the heavy implications. And now the DPDP is also coming, and where there are the hefty fines of up to 250 crores, right, in India, if the things are not well managed accordingly, and if the data is leaked due to the malpractices of the organization.
Okay, so you say that there are not only reputation loss, but financial loss of up to 250 crores is also provisioned in laws nowadays. So, and like, what are your views about use of AI in this managing this cybersecurity?
So yes, AI is like a good friend. It seems a good friends to us, but as well as there are like when it goes wrong, it can go heavily wrong. So AI is also being used by the hacker these days. So now, for how the hackers are typically hacking the things now is, they have a large database of organizations where which they buy, and then they try like the blind attacks on them. Like they start sending you the fake emails, and then the employees are falling prey to them. They are end up opening those emails and giving the sensitive data to the clients, to those hackers, clients data to those hackers. And if the employees are not giving that data, then their automatic, the scripts that they have manually written, they fails, and they move on to the another client. But just imagine the AI is working on here, right now the first uh, way to identify the fake emails are the spelling mistakes, right? The wrong text, the fonts are not correct. You can, if you train your employees, they will easily identify that this is a fake email, right? But when, imagine the AI is doing this job, it will not make any spelling mistake. It will make sure that the sender and those things are correct, and the fake email will also look very correct to you, and then it can engage better with you in a conversation. Imagine there are the chatbots, and your employee is working, and they have some chatbot which is hacked and being operated by AI. You can imagine how well the AI can talk and convince that employee to hand over your clients all kind of sensitive files, and even the passwords and all things to them. So AI
So,
is like, can be a very evil here, like in
like,
convincing the employee. And social engineering attacks will be very very effective from that end with AI.
fraudster are using AI in a more fruitful way than organizations, and we need to implement this to keep up.
Right,
Uh,
because
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you go on please.
You said that we need to train our employees, because the organizations we are talking about are not very large. I suppose that most of the CA firms range from employee base of 25 to 75. Like a big chunk is there. Larger organizations maybe can afford tools and all that, but and the major question is, how do you train your employees? Like you have mentioned multiple times that we need to train employees. Although this question was for Mr. Mahir, but like I'm inclined to know your views on how we can train the employees so that these risks are even a lesser threat to us.
So the training can basically start from as low as, like, if the management or someone in the organization is well averse with the technology, they can start from the YouTube itself. Like there are the various content available on there, and like 90% of the training is around the very common practices that everyone should use, right? Everyone should be aware of. So common practices, when you go through those trainings, you will be easily able to point out like 10 points that any organization should go. Or if some organization wants to go for some kind of compliance certificates and the thing, they can hire an agency that can help them go through all those compliance kind of things. So if we say like what kind of practices they should do, so the common practices again for the employees fall back on giving them training on where to keep the data, to not make the local copies of that data, not to send password of the clients to them over the email, because anyone can spoof those emails and maybe looking at those emails, and not to download the attachments. It's a common job in a CA industry to keep sending the attachments, Excel files. So they are like living in that world where every attachments looks so lucrative to them to download and open it, right? And that's where the threat vectors comes in. Then there are some other practices they should do, like they should switch to some to productivity suites like Google Workspace or 365, because they give some kind of settings to detect the malicious email before they even land into your inbox. So, and then there are some other things they can find the points like the basic device security, like all the devices should be encrypted, and there should be strong device passwords in the organization, and when they stash their devices while upgrading to the new devices, they should erase all the data from the devices. Like it shouldn't be like that, like when they are upgrading to the new device, they just keeping it like reselling those devices without wiping that on, and someday you can imagine someone who bought that devices going through the financial transactions of those clients. So there are many such kind of basic practices which anyone can easily find over the Google, or the best thing would be to go for some kind of compliance if the organization is little large, like ISO 27001 or something.
Like that's a lot. And one last question, like you have dealt with so many companies and around the world and even in India, uh, um, like how does cyber security insurance work, and is it for the professionals, like should they take it, because they are also dealing with a huge financial data? So is it for the smaller organizations, or is it only for larger organizations?
So basically, the thing is now everyone is into the cyberspace, right? And the cybersecurity insurance is something that has come up now, and it is a very good product by them, because every organization, they need some kind of uh, insurance, right, to deal with the risks they have. And the cybersecurity is a big risk to the organization, because as I said, they may fall victim to such kind of attacks. So cybersecurity this cybersecurity insurance is something that every organization should go for.
And I guess cybersecurity insurance doesn't work if you don't have all the laws and policies in place within the organization to safeguard yourself from such threats. Like
The thing
you
here
don't get
is,
health insurance without a checkup.
yeah, the thing here is that if you have the best cybersecurity policies implemented in the organization, that will affect the premium amounts
Okay.
there. So there are the basic checks, like if are the employees are having the proper training on it, and do you managing your passwords properly, and which kind of suites you are using, how many checkpoints and the endpoints in your organizations have you protected. So if you have all those checks enabled, the cybersecurity insurance premiums are are significantly reduced. So when we work with the Fortune 500 companies, with just implementation of a password manager, they were able to reduce their cybersecurity premium to like 300. They get the ROI of 300x, like when they implemented a password manager.
Okay,
Just
so it
on,
was practically free. Password manager is practically free from for them.
yeah, like it is then giving them more benefits than that.
Okay. So, like, that's good information. Like, we know, I never knew that password, just managing password had so much precautions around it, and it can be such a deep thing, and you building a startup out of it. So you have the floor, Hemant, if you want to share any, like, everyone would be interested to know if any breaches or any story that you have regarding a real life case that you faced, that can help us being more aware, or just a nudge towards implementing cybersecurity, and your general views about cybersecurity.
So cybersecurity is basically a vast term. So we see a lot of cybersecurity breaches happening every day, right? Every day we see two or three large breaches that is affecting like millions of data. We have heard the names of Twitter, LinkedIn, and even the some governments and the health organizations. And there have been cases in the past, like where the breach was just because of the password. So last year, like AMD that got breached, right? So one of the reason was they were having a system like where the password was just a very weak password, and the hackers were able to get to that system, and from there they were able to get into the other systems. And Uber was breached last year, and the reason was like MFA overpowering. So MFA overpowering is something like when they were able to get past their first line of defense, like somehow they were able to get to the password of the admin, and then they were like stopped by the the MFA layer. But then they keep bombarding the admin like for approving, and eventually the admin end up approving the request, and then that request was overpowered, and then they were able to get into the systems of the Uber. So if they would have been having the first line of defense strong and someone was not able to pass through that, then it would have been a great way of protecting the organization.
Thank you, Hemant. Thank you. Thanks for elaborating on passwords and how cybersecurity works, and a lot of points we discussed. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Mudit. Thanks for it.
Now we will have Mr. Mahir Gupta, who is a lawyer and works with in High Court and representing cases of corporates. Um to help them overcome the breaches that they have in their organization. He will introduce himself just one line before he begins. Um, uh, that he will also tell you that how practically the laws have changed in India, and why it has become more and more important to actually do something about cybersecurity, and not be just not being just casual about it. So over to Mahir. He can just start. Thank you. Thank
Hi, Mudit. A very good evening to everyone. I guess I'm audible and properly visible to you all. Before
you. Yes,
starting, I would like to ensure.
yes,
Perfect.
yes, Mahir, you are
So,
good.
a very good evening, everyone. My name is Mahir Gupta. I'm an advocate by profession, but used to be an ethical hacker by my passion. Okay, and I specialize in cyber laws only, and I have been working with Government of India since 2017. So when I was in my college, I was opted out by Gurgaon Police. So I'm just giving a brief about my background. So before I start, so you can correlate with things which I am going to share with you. And so today's topic is strengthening accounting, how cybersecurity empowers your practice. So I am going to put some light on it from my experiences and what I have seen in the industry since 2017. So I joined Gurgaon Police Commissioner Office back in 2017 and was there as an intern. And I was trained on various disciplines of the cybersecurity industry. Okay, so be it law, be it incident response, be it any kind of technical knowledge which we have to get. We were there in the cyber cell and we were getting it. What started happening back in Gurgaon Police 2017 was there was this company you all may be very like you may all be knowing about it. That's free charge. Okay, you must have heard about it. So there was this cyber incident happened with free charge, due to which they have to come to the cyber police station to report it and to get how did basically happened. Okay, so now there was some barriers which I was able to foresee. I was able to understand like there are some barriers, there are some issues due to which this incident cannot be solved by our law enforcement agencies. So what was the issue? Generally what happens when you have to join the law enforcement agencies, you have to basically take a test जहाँ पे आप भागते हो दौड़ते हो, you just do some physical tests there and you get into the job. So you are not very friendly with the tech and with the systems, like how these internet work, how these endpoints behave, what has exactly happened. So the police was very least interested in solving the cases, and they just simply asked the company that bring us certain logs. Okay, we will filter out the logs, we will see who has done this, we will see the IP, we will get to the criminal and all these things are happening. And you won't believe, free charge team was there in the cyber cell the next day with two Fortuner cars filled up with the log file. So they have printed all the logs from the system, and all these files were there in like they totally filled two Fortuners, like two big SUVs there. Okay, and we were shocked, like how someone is going to filter out all these logs and everything. So I got to know like there is a huge gap in the understanding of the law enforcement agencies and the company's cyber incident. That was because the law enforcement agency was not from such background that they can cross verify how this incident has happened, and because the attack was very sophisticated. Okay, so back in 2017 security was there. Okay, like basic SSL was there, HTTPS was there, multiple basic security protocols started happening and the companies were aware of it. So anyone who is targeting the company, they were doing some kind of a sophisticated attack, for which you need to have the knowledge of all kind of attacks which are going to be there, so that you can filter out which kind of attack was it and how it happened, and you can let the company know that was the issue in your infrastructure and that's why this attack happened, and now you have to patch it. Okay, so we started with a company called Code Snag. Okay, the meaning of code snag is basically uh, finding loopholes in the codes, and our whole idea was bringing our own intelligence, my own intelligence, into this platform so that companies can react to the incidents as soon as they happen. Okay, that was the whole idea. So I am going to empower the companies with my hacker intelligence. So even if the breach is going to happen, we can detect it beforehand, and if we are not able to detect it, we can at least respond to it properly. So as I was just listening to Hemant also, what he was saying, like all these cross checks, like securing your endpoint, securing your network, having a proper policy in hand, having all those checkpoints in hands which insurance company needs, to brings down the premium of the insurance in your company and you feel empowered. So I ask certain questions to my audience always, like you are paying for your internet, but do you think you are in control of what your organization is doing with that internet? If they are copying your file, they are basically taking the data out of your organization, do you know, do you have any system in place which can ensure that no data theft is going to happen from inside? Secondary, hackers have become smart. What I have observed over the past 6 7 years, hackers are now smart. They are not targeting the computers, they are not hacking the servers, they're not going to facebook.com and going to enter your email ID and then try to run some kind of script or code through which they can enter your Facebook ID or your Instagram ID or even your bank accounts. What they do is they front up, they do a call and they ask you, they hack you, they induce you into doing certain things through which you let the hacker basically take your accounts, your organization, your network, or your endpoints. So I'll start with a very brief case study which happened in 2018. Okay, it's a very interesting one. So there was this organization, there is one big manufacturer who is a client, and the facility is based out of Ludhiana. Okay, so they like manufacture all the hardware tools, they create these coaches for the train, and there is something scaffolding. Okay, you must have seen big cemented pillars of 100 feet rising up from the ground for electricity. So these are used in defense mechanism for from government of India. So they used to make all these things. They had the manufacturing plant in Ludhiana, and they had different sales and purchase departments out of country as well. So they have to deal with international clients, they have to certain like sometimes procure some materials, they have to sell their tools and hardware to different countries, So they had certain departments set up for example, there is a department for China, there is a department for Europe, there is a department for USA. There were multiple departments there. So what happened was the Europe department was struck by a cybercrime. Some hacker created a fake email address of their sales team. Okay, it's known as homograph attack. I'm not able to write on the screen. If I can have a whiteboard, I can just make it explain. But if it's not there, I'll just give you guys a task. You can try it right now on your keyboards, on your phone's keyboard. You write Mahir, Mahir. Okay, Mahir.com. You just write Mahir.com and then you write rnahir.com. You'll see it is totally similar. No one is able to identify at a first glance that it's not M. R and club together would look like an M. Okay, so those hackers created certain email IDs related to the client's domain. They had their own business email IDs, and they messaged the client who was going to receive the shipment for advance payment and said, sir, our account is right now under certain obligations of government of India, or we are right now going under an audit. We need that you send this payment, get your shipment to this particular account, which was a hacker's account. Okay. Now, what will the CEO think? The MD of the company was very shocked, like, how could this happen? This is some insider job. Obviously, someone having so much intel that who is the client, when is the shipment going to be delivered, what will be the time when the client will respond. All these intelligence, all these things can only be like understood by someone from the inside of the firm. So he was very paranoid about every person in his company, and he asked us for help. He called us for the help. So please come to a company and see how this incident happened. I was there for 3 days. The first 2 days, I was not able to understand what has exactly happened because there were so many vulnerabilities out there. So when we go into an organization, what we do is we give them a hacker's perspective. So how hacker could have entered the organization? We start pen testing the organization according to a hacker's mindset. So when I was pen testing, I was like able to find 100, 150 vulnerabilities in their system, and all were very crucial vulnerabilities which could have led to this attack. So, but I was not able to exactly get the root cause. So logs are very important when we talk about incident responses and everything. Like internet works on criteria of proof of concept. So if I am telling you like this is how the attack has happened, I need to show you the logs as well, so that you can verify that what Mahir Gupta is saying is correct. Okay. So on the third day, I went to their email server. So they had their own custom email server. There was a service which I was able to like get into, and I was able to fetch some logs which were not present on the normal system. On those logs, I was able to see a female employee's ID. Now, here is the catch. The company has 300 employees in their manufacturing facility and in their sales department also. None of them are females. Okay. So all males were working in the company. None of them were females. And I was very paranoid, like, how could this have happened? And I was able to see that there was this IP which was trying to attempt to log in into multiple accounts of the employees of the company. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah. So I was able to see like there were multiple attempts of login into the email account of the employees in the company. But the very first attempt was done on this female employee's email ID, and the IP was there because the hacker later on started using VPN. But real IP was there on the first attempt. So I got hold on to that IP. I asked the company to call this employee, whoever she is, to the office, and for me to verify like if this happened or not. So what I was able to understand, the IP was from Thailand. Okay. Next day, the employee came. I interviewed her. I interrogated her, kind of, you can say. I asked her where she was on that particular date and time, and I was able to see that she was in Phuket, Thailand. Okay, she got into some hotel and she joined their Wi-Fi, and hackers started to access her information from that particular time, and that was back in 2016, and the attack happened in 2018. So you can see hackers are right now running proper organizations. You have seen, you must have heard, there are call centers right now running in India. There are some scam centers right now running out of India as well. Hackers like basically do identity theft. They basically become police. They sometimes become Microsoft service personals, anyone, and they basically try to induce you. So the hacker hacked the Wi-Fi of the hotel, got hold to the employees, female employees' email ID, and from there he started infiltrating into the organization. So they are right now running a proper business model. Okay, they have sophisticated employees, high-end IT personnel sitting there who are working for them, and they take a lot of time to gather all these intelligence. I would say, like around 1 to 2 years to perform an attack. So before performing an attack, hacker knows all about you. So when once any incident comes to us, I am very sure before happening of the incident, there is someone which we call hacker. It might be an insider also, who is able to gather all the intelligence of your organization. Now I come to the part. So I was able to understand like how the attack was happened and everything. So let's suppose during this attack, any personal information is compromised from the company's database, and the government comes into place. Government says now the DPDP Act has been enforced. You need to pay a penalty of 250 crore rupees. Okay, or the cyber insurance company comes in and they say this is a issue of your personal, like this is this is an insider issue. Your employee breached the data. We are not able to cover your insurance. Now you would need a team who specializes in all these incident response cycle, who knows how to create log management, how to present these logs to the court, so that the penalty can not be imposed on you and that you get the insurance of the loss incurred by your firm. So we specialize in these things at CodeSnack. This is the story of CodeSnack, how CodeSnack was founded and how we were basically able to understand the gap in the market and right now what we are working on. Okay, so CodeSnack takes care of all the things. So like the previous speakers were also saying, like we have to have an endpoint protection, we have to have a server protection, we have to have network protection, everything in place. CodeSnack takes care of all the things, and basically that is the main part. Like you cannot always be a cybersecurity expert because that's not your work. Your firm might be into manufacturing. We have clients from hospitality, we have clients from like the tea production company, we have clients from every aspect of the industries which you can see. So the ones who specialize in cybersecurity must be there in a company right now because it is a huge need. You have to prove that how the attack happened and how and why you should not be compensated about this attack. Okay, so I'll just give you a brief about what was the earlier scenario before DPDP Act was in the picture and what is the scenario right now. Before DPDP Act was not in the picture, you must have heard news about Facebook has lost data of 2.5 million users, or 2.5 million users of Gmail's data is right now on sale for darknet. Okay, all these things were there. But now if certain news floats and there is a agency which is known as CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, we have that in India, we have that in Europe, we have that in US. In every developed country there is a CERT. Okay, so if Indian CERT gets to know that your client's data is right now for sale on open web or even on darknet, they will send you a notice that you have to tell us why this data is on sale, when this incident has happened, what was the reason of this incident, and you have to have a proper VAPT report with you. Like you need to have an audit report, a third party independent audit, which needs to be done by a third party, which is cert impaneled, or even not cert impaneled, should be a trustworthy ISO certified VAPT organization or a firm, which will produce this report and let cert know what loopholes was this hacker able to exploit and was able to get hold onto the data. Was it an insider job, an outsider job? And even if it was an insider or outsider job, why the organization was not able to take proper precautions before this incident happened? Okay, so now you are answerable to the court directly. After the DPDP Act, you are directly answerable to the court. Before it was IT Act 2000 and 2008. It was not very well furnished, very well rehearsed. Now the DPDP says 250 crores of penalty. I'll double quote this: 250 crore rupees penalty. This is not going to be straightforward implemented on you. Okay, so let's suppose you are an organization, you have an OTT platform or an application where 5 crore Indian users are there. So there is this information which is known as PII information, that is personal identification information, which can let a hacker identify the user in your database personally. So let's suppose I am a user, I am using your application right now, and you have saved a database where my name is visible, Mahir Gupta, my age is visible, whatever my age is, my date of birth is visible to you, my educational institution is visible, or my address is visible. Such information has been classified into PII information. If the hacker somehow was able to grab hold onto your database, but the database was encrypted, okay, if the database was encrypted, sorry, so the hacker will only be able to see alphanumerical numbers about Mahir Gupta. Then the information compromises just my name. He doesn't know which Mahir Gupta we are talking about. You are not liable for a penalty. There are certain interpretations and loopholes in this law which needs to be complied with a great IT policy, as Hemant said, with a great tool which can manage all those security precautions which you can take at a minimum, and should be managed by a single point vendor, not multiple vendors. So let's suppose if I ask you, like, you take password manager from X company, then you take an endpoint protection from Y company, then you take incident response from Z company, you will be going nuts about it. Okay, you will need to manage multiple vendors. Multiple vendors will be having multiple conflicts with each other, and then you won't be able to properly reinforce the policies which your organization need right now. So we need to be smarter, as the hackers are going to be more sophisticated and more smarter day by day. There was this one point which I would like to tell again. Most of the attacks right now happening, and which will happen in the near future using AI or any particular technology, are going to be human attacks. Okay, so earlier hackers used to attack machines, now they used to attack humans. So let's suppose I am CEO of an organization. I am having all the access to all the email and the communication going even upward downward communications. I am having all the access to the communications and the passwords and everything. If the hacker somehow gets to control my brain and gets to like, it basically induces me onto clicking on a certain link which can compromise my device, and then I take that device into my organization's network or to connect it to my laptop, he was able to gain access to most of the information of my organization. Getting my point? So these are CEO attacks which are right now at a rise in India. You must have also seen. So if I am like basically addressing all the CA community here, you must have seen there is this tool Tele, or business ERPs are there, Busy and etc. So you most of the times you open RDPs. Okay, there is this RDP protocol which is used in most of the CA firms I have seen to get the access of their accounts data and everything. Most of the time hackers attack these RDP ports and perform a ransomware attack. I am very sure that most of the CAs here must have seen or heard a story of a ransomware attack happening here and there due to all these tools of like Tele, like Busy, like any XYZ tool. I don't know exact names of the tools. So all these tools.
Hello, Mahir.
Hello, Hemant, am I visible?
Yeah. You are visible and
Okay,
audible.
okay, sorry. Actually, my screen swapped. So sorry. So basically, we are all like, we must be knowing about all these kind of attacks. So my question is there any tool, any service who can ensure that if you buy that service or buy that particular subscription, it is going to keep you secured forever? My question is straightforward, no. If you ask me that if even my tool is going to keep you secured forever, it's a very big no. Okay, because hackers are becoming smarter day by day. We need smarter and practical cybersecurity implementations within our organization to outbeat them. Okay, that is where my product comes in picture, Coachna comes in picture. That is where we are right now working in the field. We are innovating in the field so that an organization behaves like a human being. Okay, we do not give you a robotic arm to work upon, and we are there always there to like basically respond to any incident which has happened, because right now hackers are so unpredictable. You never know how a hacker will going to infiltrate into your organization. My question is, we should be prepared with a proper incident response team and a plan. Even if an attack happens, the burden of proof is on the organization to prove that the attack has not happened because of their negligence. Okay, so there you need a proper special team which is going to be there with you in the bad times, and bad times are very near right now. The scenario after DPDP Act, hackers have become more active, more active. They are right now on your nerve. So they know they are going to get a like hackers I'll just let you know about the psyche of the hackers, like how they think. There are hackers who do hacking for monetary gain. There are hackers who do hacking for just their own interest. Like they love it. They like it when people go freaking about it. Okay. So most of the hackers generally have the second trait in their mind. Like even if we are not able to gain something from this operation or from this hacking, we are just able to create some ruckus. Okay. We are just able to spoil something of the client side. And once this GDPRs and every law came into picture, we have seen in Europe also. I have been working with certain clients who take my consultancy services and everything, where I have seen that hackers have just performed attacks to basically make chaotic situations in the organization, and they have asked ransom from them that we will let you know that we have not stole any data and everything, but you have to pay a certain amount so that the court doesn't penalize you with 250 crore amount of penalty. Okay, so there are certain policies which have also been introduced in DPDP Act of India that I'll mention. So hackers and incidents at one side, your organization needs right now needs to be so prominent with the digital acts and the digital laws and policies of your company that you need digital rights. Every employee who is joining your company right now is accessing a computer, has digital rights and duties. Okay, so there is this right to be forgotten. I'll give you an example. There is this company Intel. Everyone must have heard about it. Intel is right now the biggest manufacturer of chipsets for systems. Okay, for these devices, hardware devices. Intel implemented GDPR, European GDPR, that is General Data Protection Act of Europe. Now Europe also is very similar to DPDP Act. DPDP Act has been taken from EU GDPR as an inspiration and has been enforced in India. So there are certain digital rights, which is one of them is right to be forgotten, which I am right now telling you all about. What is right to be forgotten? Right to be forgotten is, let's suppose I am working right now with Google. Okay, I am an employee of Google. Due to X reason, I am now shifting my job to, let's say, Facebook, or let's say Amazon, and I don't want that Google should hold any of my personal information there, because as soon as I'm like having some ex employer of me or some ex organization of which where I used to work have my data, I am more prone to the attack. So as a digital citizen, I am now responsible. I feel responsible about my data. I have asked Google to practice my right to be forgotten in their organization, because I am joining Facebook. My personal data will be with Facebook. Even if the law enforcement agency needs any of my data, they can contact Facebook there. So I write an email to Google that, sir, because I am leaving a firm right now and I don't have any relationship with you as an employer, I would I would like to practice my right to be forgotten, and I want that you delete all my PIA information from your databases. Okay. Now Google has a DPO, which is the next point what I am coming forward to, which is a huge opportunity for all the CAs here. I see, because DPOs are going to be the next big shots in the cyber policy market. Okay. So just write down this term DPO, data protection officer. So this employee sends an email to the DPO of Google. Now the DPO of Google makes sure with the technical team that this particular employee ID is leaving us and he is asking us to practice his right to be forgotten. And I have to send a NOC to him, report to me that once the data, all his PIA information, all the data has been removed from our servers and everywhere, from our third party vendors even, I'll send a NOC to the employee. So this employee got an NOC from the DPO after 2 days that all your PIA information has been deleted. Now, what happened? I am talking about the case of Intel, but just I am giving you for an example Google, because it's more easier to remember. So what happened? After 6 months of getting the NOC from the DPO, this employee got an email from the marketing team of Intel, which basically was about some vouchers being produced or being shared by the team for their holidays. Okay. Now, email is a PII information. Email is your personal identification information, because your email is used in your bank account. Your email is used or linked with your PAN card, Aadhaar card, your social security numbers in Europe and USA, if I'll tell. So this particular employee went to the International Court of Justice, because local federal courts were not taking his case. He went to the International Court of Justice, and you know what compensation did Intel paid to him? It was 4 million US dollars. Okay, that was the amount of compensation which Intel has to pay. So these cases are going to be real in India, because right now the data structures and how the companies enforce compliances in India is very, 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 I would say, at beginner level. Okay, we have always, like I have seen as a cyber law specialist, firms having their privacy policies drafted by CAs who are not aware of what a privacy policy exactly should be there. I'm really sorry if anyone's sentiment is going to be like somehow challenged here, but uh, with all due respect, we need special teams to take care of all these things. So second point, even if you are interested, you see a huge scope here. So there might we are having this webinar because we see this industry is going to boom into some good space and there is going to be growth here. So I would recommend that all of you learn about DPDP Act and GDPR to become a DPO, data protection officer of the company. So like you have this like form where you sign yourself as the CA or the auditor of the company. Now you should have another form where you should sign yourself as a data protection officer of the company. That is being mentioned in the DPDP Act. Okay, so data protection officer has certain duties like giving NOCs, managing all the data, seeing if the database is encrypted, which I was telling you about. If there is any data loss, he should engage with the legal team to take the case further ahead into the federal courts and everywhere. So all these things should be taken into consideration. That is a good opportunity. If we see it as a chaotic or a work added upon, it is not going to help us, because reality is here right now. Government is paranoid about the citizens PII. We have seen Aadhaar data getting leaked, we have seen PAN card data getting leaked. GST is right now very, very like stuck by this issue, because people has used PAN cards and Aadhaar cards of ample amount of Indians and created firms, and has like taken an amount of money as I would say rebate from the GST department, and they are not able to get hold on to anyone. Even people have destroyed the whole computers from which they used to operate the GST of those firms. I am seeing those cases first-handedly from various police departments. There are like lakhs of FIR right now in India floating from the GST department itself, which the cyber cell is not able to help them with. So we need to be very, very proactive in the cybersecurity domain. We need to have a tool, a team who specializes in practical security implementation. I'm not talking about, I'll say, go buy a firewall, go buy an antivirus, but what is the main crux of it? What do you want to achieve from it? You should have a specialized team who should know the latest policies, latest laws, latest compliances, latest things which you need to have in a company, and a hacker mindset there, so that you can, once an incident happens, an issue happens, an issue arises, escalates, you should have someone to call upon. Okay, so there is this series on Netflix which I have seen, Better Call Saul. So if there is some kind of cyber incident, cyber issue, you better call Mahir, because we'll be able to like help you guys out of it. Okay, so that's all I would like to tell. Mudit, if you have anything in mind.
Yes, Mahir, thank you. Like a lot of questions answered by itself, which I had in mind. But like one or two questions. Like, how do CS start? Like, can you name some of the tools that we can start by using to protect ourselves? And like, I know the data sanitization and all is a challenge in our in current scenario, because our clients are also not organized. So, like, where do we start? What is the first thing and the top three things that a CA firm, a normal CA firm, I'm not talking about someone who is billing in crores every month, someone who is billing up to 10-50 lakhs, what should be their first three steps towards getting closer to a space which is cyber safe?
Perfect. So, Mudit, what I recommend mostly to the small and medium enterprises, that you should hire a consultant first who specializes in all these cybersecurity and cyber law policy drafting. Okay, because before getting any tool into your organization, you should be very clear about what policies are going to be there. You are going to take data loss prevention, if you are going to put password management in your systems, if you are going to put endpoint protection there, you need a consultant. Okay, you need a consultant who would just see how much data you are processing. There are organizations who have all tools in their organization, but they are not processing the data. They are storing the data on Azure data lakes. Okay, And most of the tools right now, most of the servers, most of the services like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, these all services come with most of security implementations altogether. You just need to have a proper configuration in place to enforce those security tools, security logs. So you don't need any additional tools like firewall, or I would say antiviruses right now in your system, because Windows is working on cybersecurity, Google is working on cybersecurity, AWS is working on cybersecurity. You need a good consultant and a VAPT and incident response team in the picture, so that they can manage everything when it comes to incidents, when it comes to seeing the loopholes from a hacker's perspective. It needs to be there. And employee training. So I'll also tell you about the employee training scenario. What is an employee training according to me? So how you can train the employees of the company, because they are more prone to the attack. And if the attack is going to happen, the employee is going to click on some link. I am very sure of it. So how you can stop it? So we have this simulation model. Okay, in CodeSnack also we have developed this simulation model where we send phishing links to the employees. So let's suppose you have 100 of employees. We have launched a campaign on your firm, and we have sent them phishing employees posing as a hacker or as a third party who is not white labeled in your organization. And the employees who have clicked on those links are being black labeled by us. Okay, so we are basically giving them red zones, like these employees are more prone to the attack. And then we train them, we tell them, like, why did you click on this link? So they will say, sir, we were surfing on the internet and we see e-commerce websites, and this link was related to an e-commerce website. So we get to know that there should be a policy which should enforce that no e-commerce site should be opened on the endpoints of the employees. And then we train them also that next time, even if this is going to happen, if you are going to click on the link, we are going to know, and we are going to terminate your offer letter or job letter. Okay, that is how proper cybersecurity is enforced in an organization to the like end layer. So CA should like start opting by hiring a consultant, a cyber law specialist who should see, because every organization is unique in their own needs. Okay, some organization might not even need a single tool, and some organization might need some very proactive tools because they are working or they are behaving as a data fiduciary. So if there is a need of consultant, and the CA should understand which company is a data fiduciary and which company is just a data processor.
Okay.
Okay, so for that you have to understand a particular part of DPDP Act, and it's very easily available on internet. Like there are so many articles available right now. If you want to understand what is a data fiduciary and who is a data processor, you need to understand it. You just Google it down, you will get all the information, and least they are all connected to you. We can have a call, detailed call about it if anyone wants to get into this scenario.
And like how real is the threat for CS? Because you said that okay, we are not running startups. We are maintaining books of our clients. I understand that if I am maintaining books for 100 clients, there might be 5,000 vendors and clients of those my customers whose invoices are lying with me, and all those act as PII, I guess. And so I want to know that how real is the threat for a CA firm in today's scenario? Like, is it possible that a hacker tomorrow acts my firm, gets all the data, and I am in trouble because I didn't have any because honestly I don't have any cybersecurity in place? Is it possible that tomorrow it happens with me and I'm on the hook for everything?
Very much, Mudit. This is a very good question according to your industry. So what I have seen happening with the CA firms lately was that hackers are everywhere, whereas there is some crucial or some data which contains a bit of information or value. Okay, if the data is valuable, hackers are there. CAs are one of the top targets in a hacker's mind. Reason being, they have all the payment related data, account related data, transaction data. All these data are very crucial for hackers. Even there are companies, there are background verification companies and XYZ companies who hire these hackers to get into the system of CAs and like basically take all these data to verify about a company, to verify, to like basically crack a deal. I have seen a case in US where two companies were supposed to have some deal, and one of the company, like the investor or the bigger company who's going to merge or acquire the smaller company, they hired a firm who specializes in getting all the data required, and that firm hacked into the company's CA's system and everything, and this is a proper case law there. Okay, so that smaller company filed a case against that company. So you guys are more prone to it. So what you should do, there are compliances. If you have heard about PCI DSS, okay, PCI DSS, if you are having your own payment gateways, if like I have seen CAs giving X amount of service offering to the client, okay, so if you are giving some kind of service offering to the client where you are behaving as a data processor or a fiduciary, you should be PCI DSS compliant. Okay, you should have all the checkpoints in the place. Most importantly, you should have to see what is the relationship with you and your client. So basically, if the client is having personal data of, let's suppose, 1 crore users, and that data is totally transaction data, and the client is giving that data or sharing that data with you just for auditing purposes, so you should have a clarified guideline about it, like how the client should share it with you. It should be in an encrypted format, how and where it will be stored, and after what time will the data be deleted from your system, where you will not be liable or eligible for any kind of like you don't have any answerability after that particular time. Okay, so CA firm should have a very strict guidelines in their company, that if, even if like, right now it's not the time where someone walks into your door and gives you a pen drive that, hey Mudit, you are a CA, please take my data and iske upar please do some audit. Now is the time when someone walks in, he asks you about your services, and you give them a proper endpoint or a funnel where they throw the data to you, and you process the data accordingly, and that should be mentioned in your contract with the client very clearly, how you process their data, because most of the CAs have a data processor relationship with their clients. So you're just getting the data second hand from the client to do an audit. So those policies need to be there.
Like, I invite my all the audience to post some questions, because like it has been like very concerning and alarming and pleasant to hear you all the policies and all the changes that have come in recently with respect to these laws. So, like, what do you? Last question from my end until someone asks. How is like you have mentioned, but is about AI. So, how does AI like? Is there any tool that I can use? AI tool that I can use to assess my cybersecurity right now in my firm?
Exactly. So Mudit, speaking very frankly, AI is a very new technology right now in the world, and it's one of the superior tech stack, which I would say. Cybersecurity in itself is a very unique proposition altogether. It's a very big field altogether, and there are very less number of specialists who can work in cybersecurity domain. So if you go to the market and you search intensively into, like, I'm not talking about Indian products, but on the global level, you'll see there are very less number of one or two products who says, which claims that they are AI powered, but they are not at the back end, because first of all, those tools are very expensive. Okay, there is no free scanning right now available for you, but we are soon going to launch, like by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we are going live with Code Snacks free testing, which is totally AI powered. So you can check whether if your emails are compromised somewhere or not, even if you have a domain. So let's suppose you have a client whose domain is mudit.com, you can just simply paste it there, and our free tool will let you know what kind of attacks it is now right now prone to, and it is going to, like, we are going to add certain features to it. So right now, in my knowledge, there are no such AI tools which are going to give you a scan or a proper hacker vision about your organization. But yes, because you have asked, we are coming up with it like day or day after tomorrow, most probably.
Great, great.
So
Thank you,
I'll
Mahir.
share the link with you if you want to circulate.
Sure, sure. We'll open this for all our audience. They can inquire us,
Sure.
and we'll share the queries directly with you. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
your time.
Thank, thank you.
Thank you. So, as we heard all our experts about how cybersecurity works, how automation we can bring about in our firm. So, I personally have been implementing automation and products and no-code solutions in various finance departments, and it has been a learning about how humans work and humans accept the change in the organization. So most of the times, I have seen that implementing in finance department is a bit difficult. The reason being that when you are implementing a tool, it is not just about the transactions that are going to happen from today. For finance department, the data, the past data is equally important, and to have to maintain that data into that new tool and do the transmission and all is a challenge, and this hinders implementation of tools to a great extent. Secondly, you cannot just implement a tool in a finance department, uh, and because you the urgency of the transactions that are happening in a department are very high. You have to run both the planes together. You have to implement in one and let the one function as it is functioning, because you cannot stop a department for 2 to 3 days or weeks or months to just implement a tool. And then we have a lot of non-generic data, like in Tally or in Zoho, when we operate, we add fields that are specifically for our usage and not generally available in tools, and these kind of customizations stop easy implementation, or I can say fast implementation. So the challenges are there, but as we are growing with the time and technology, we have to implement these tools. There is no alternative, else we will be left behind. As they say that if you do not disrupt, if you are not the one who is disrupting the your domain, someone will come and disrupt you itself. So and in my from the experience that I have, the document management is a very big issue in our field. The documents are usually unorganized, and unorganized, I mean that there is no particular format in which the data is being stored by each and every employee of the organization. So if I am passing on some data to some other person, he will have to figure out how the data is working. There is no fixed structure. So before even going to tools, these kind of policies we should implement, that how the data is being shared. I have seen that, for example, just like if I have invoices from multiple vendors, then someone is storing the data as vendors first, vendor A, and then year wise and month wise data as a hierarchical structure. Someone is storing as years, then months, and then within that vendors as a folder. In both the cases, I cannot filter the data. I can go to a particular folder and then search it, and then drill down to a particular level. But I cannot just type in a word and all the folders for files with respect to those data points can just pop up. And this creates a lot of lag in time for rechecking as well, because when if you have to recheck 1,000 invoices, then you do not have the data objectively. And you are if you are accounting in Tally is a great tool, no doubt, but the kind of structure it has followed over the years is a file based and not an API based or DBMS based. So the getting data from that has become a challenge. And one of the challenges over like past decade, I have met 3 to 4 companies at least who has been trying to solve is reading the documents automatically. A great deal of time is spent in just opening up the documents, seeing what is there, and noting it down in an Excel, or doing an accounting with it and rechecking it. And this, if this problem is tackled, a lot of time, and time will be saved for uh, accounting function and the teams. And like having searched this tool for too long, I know that even if someone has come up with it, the accuracy level is very low. Now, at the beginning, I told you that I'll explain how Entera is a automated accounting system. So now what Entera has come up with is that technology, simple, elegant, but very effective, that if you put in a document, your vendor invoice or any other invoice, it can automatically filter all the data that is there in the invoice with respect to your the name of the vendors, the name of your name as a supplier, your sorry as a customer, then the items that are being dispatched in that, and the totals, the taxes, information of taxes, which is very important, which is actually adopted to Indian taxation regime. And then you can just see all that data in a click and transfer it to your any tool. It can be Tally, Zoho, QuickBooks, any XYZ tool. That data can be simply transmitted. So this ability to manage data and read data in such a short span of time, you can process even 1,000 invoices in 10-20 minutes. So this kind of saves time, helps us increase ROI and everything. And not just that, as I talked about document management, when so this is a very good feature where it has created a collaborated environment. What you can do is, it creates a folder. There is a folder, and that folder is shared with your customer, with your managers, and with your accountants. Now, as Mahir said, that you need to follow a protocol to get the data from the customer and share it with your team also. So that entire chain is figured in this. You can share endpoint for collecting the data from your customer, having it in the access of your managers, MDs, whoever is the top of the chain, and then you can share it with the employees who are managing it, and they can directly pass on the data to the your accounting system. Now in this, you not only save time, cost, but also give your clients a sense of responsibility that you have been following in your firm with respect to data, and how have you have been handling that data. There is a lot to come, but this is just the beginning. With respect to our webinar, I think these 2 to 3 aspects of this software are very important, that how it brings about automation, saves time, as well as it helps you maintain some of the sanitization and ethical process of cybersecurity that we discussed today. Thank you all for being in the webinar today. I open the floor for any questions and questions from our audience that we can take up. All our speakers are still available. If you have any questions, you can directly post us here in the chat, or you can mail us anytime later also. Olga, I guess we don't have any questions, and we can wrap this up if there is nothing else. Thank you all. Thanks for all our viewers and speakers for joining us today, sharing so much valuable information and insights, and some things we might not have known ever if it were not for our speakers, because it was some great intel about how the companies are working and how the government is working towards implementing this. Thank you. Thank you all.